I know Virgil's passing woke a lot of people up as far as what they were doing with their lives and what was meaningful and important to them. It did for me.
He treated people well too. That's the other thing. Like he just treated people really well.
Yeah, he did.
There's no amount of money that is worth my well-being.
Yes.
There's no amount of money. I can't ever go through what I went through. Sorry. Last January. I can't ever do that again. It's the Leah McSweeney Show. Welcome to the Leah McSweeney Show. Today, my guest is Bobby Kim, who I really want to just introduce you as Bobby Hundreds. But
you don't have to do that because you know me as Bobby Kim.
I know, but it's like you're forever Bobby Hundreds, and I'm forever Leah Mob, and that's just who we are. And we're not changing it. That's just who we are, Bobby. It doesn't matter whatever happens with Mob and the Hundreds.
It's our identity. You're right.
It's our identity. That's how we. That's how we came up.
Yeah.
That's how we'll go down. So yesterday you had an amazing dinner that we were just talking about for your new book, NFTs Are a Scam.
That's right.
It was wonderful. I enjoyed myself. I was at the Soho House. Amazon sponsored it.
Yeah.
Maybe
like
Amazon should sponsor this as well.
Hey,
Jeff Bezos, what's good? Like, let me know when you need another new mistress. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not fucking you no matter what. I don't care. It doesn't matter how many billions. I'm not sucking on that nasty dick. But I don't know what's wrong with me today. The gift bag was great.
Gift bag was great.
Got a Kindle, got an Alexa, got a Fire Stick. What else?
I don't know what it's called. It's the new. It's called the Scribe.
It's not a Kindle, right? It's a Scribe.
Yeah, it's like a notebook you can write on it and draw on it and stuff.
Oh, it's not a Kindle.
No, and then there's a Kindle
you can also
too.
Read
I think.
it or something.
Yeah.
But the most important thing, forget all the goodie bag thing, was that you brought together, we were just talking about this, normally, going out to me, like, I just don't like it, like, I get tired early, and I'm just like it's fake, and I don't feel good, and I have social anxiety, which I never realized, but yesterday, at this dinner, it was so wonderful, and I left being like, I love life, I love people, everything is good. Thank you.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Well, you're a part of that, so I feel like it's thank you. You were actually a big part of the room and that keeping the energy going. So
yeah, I was kind of like a head personality. I was giving main character energy last night because I haven't been out in a long time.
You were a protagonist. I mean, there are a lot of people who are there excited to see you there.
Really?
Yeah.
First of all,
I think you really forget that you're famous now.
I'm not. I only have 512,000 followers on Instagram. It's going down. It's going down every day.
Good.
They're unfollowing.
That's good because the people who they're not good followers.
I don't want them.
Yeah,
they stop
them.
following me whenever I put a picture of me looking really hot. I'm like, fuck off. It's crazy. It's a bunch of fuck hating ass bitches. I'm like, I don't need you. I really don't. No, but yesterday was amazing. I still don't understand Web3. I don't really understand NFTs, but I'm going to read your book and maybe that's going to help me a little.
Yeah, I think it'll help. And it seems to be that I wrote the book for people like you, or even for Luddites who are anti-tech and not into NFTs or Web3 at all.
Who the hell can be anti-tech?
Well, a lot of people. I mean, there's actually some pretty serious movements against a lot of it, especially with the rise of AI.
Well, that's a different story. I'm definitely I'm not, it's not that I'm anti-AI. I think that's incredible, but I think it's like, why do we need it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are arguments for why we could use it. I mean, for me, the more progressive, hopeful parts of it is that I think many of us are doing jobs that could probably be automated. And when I say that, I'm not saying that we need to replace people.
Right.
It's just that I think we need better jobs for those people where they're going to be motivated, and I feel like they can do work that they're proud of and that they actually want to do.
Yeah, like maybe we'll all have jobs that we actually like. I mean, we're lucky that we've gotten. We're lucky. We're entrepreneurs, for better or worse. But we've gotten to do things that we love, even if it drives us crazy sometimes.
Exactly.
Right? We don't have to sit in a cubicle, but maybe some people are happy in the cubicle.
Some people are.
Right?
Some people are, but I think we've also gotten stuck in the culture in this hyper capitalist culture where so much of our identity identity is tethered and anchored to our productivity and us being contributing like laborers to a system where we might not necessarily feel much fulfillment in our lives. You know, I see some people, I talk to a lot of young people who are like, I don't want to do this forever. I don't know what to do, but I'm kind of like stuck in this loop. And maybe AI can take on some of those more monotonous jobs that people don't necessarily really need to do. I mean, one of them, as
like
far
what?
as
like people that like help you when your cell phone's not working, or like
sure. I mean, a lot of that is
can't be
already
fun
automated.
for them. Oh yeah, that's true.
A lot of that is already automated, but and I would look. It can be controversial, but even when I'm talking about certain types of copy, right? So there are people whose entire lives are writing copy, and which is great. And if they love the creative form of that, it's, I think, really meaningful. But for a lot of product copy, for example, with us in fashion, it's just like writing details like over and over and over again. You mean on like websites?
For our websites?
Yeah.
You mean, oh yeah,
well,
it's like
AI
100% cotton T-shirt with a graphic printed in. I know it's like.
And then for me, I have a Substack. It's essentially like a blog newsletter.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't want to sit and read 5,000 words at a time. It takes you like 40 minutes to get through one of my newsletters. And so instead I read it to them aloud as a podcast, audio.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's amazing.
I do that so that they can, like, in the morning, they can just turn on my podcast and listen to it. But through AI, I can spit it through. There's multiple different AIs that will just like record it for me. And that saves me 40 to 50 minutes of my time.
But it's not your voice.
But it sounds not just like me. It sounds better than me.
Oh, wait, it actually sounds like your voice?
It's exactly
Oh, because AI is doing the voice thing too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And anyone can sign up for it. It's called 11 Labs. It'll take you literally less than 5 minutes. I didn't believe it. And you just sign up, you record. If you have any voice notes on your phone already, just throw a couple in there.
So for the audiobook?
Yeah. So for the audiobook, I actually did suggest that we use AI to read it. It turns out that Audible will not host your book if it's been recorded by AI, because there's an existential crisis amongst, as you're seeing with like the WGA strike and with audio, especially in the audiobook industry, that they feel like they're going to be ousted out of jobs, especially a lot of voice actors and speakers, because of AI, which is like a very real and legitimate concern.
Where is this all going?
I don't know. And I don't think we can know yet.
That's true.
That's one of the pieces from the book that I try to impart. Everyone is like, this is like an NFT book, or this is about Web3. It kind of is. But really what I'm talking about in it is that we need to be very slow to judgment. Yeah. Slow to judgment with the technology. And everyone, when Web3 started emerging over the last few years, wanted to hop onto a verdict. They were very quick to rush to judgment. And that's not how technology works.
Yeah.
Technology kind of slowly evolves, and it makes mistakes and errors, and we correct it, and it takes time. Just like
people shitting on crypto.
Exactly. It's the same thing with crypto. Crypto's very new. It's 10 years old, and everyone is like very quick to say this is like a final statement on what it is. Right. It's just weird to see everyone rush to grab a poll, either for or against NFTs. Yeah. Both. That's why I called the book NFTs are a scam, and on the back, NFTs are the future. Because
I didn't notice that part.
On the back, it says NFTs are the future, because when I was walking into the space a couple of years ago during the pandemic, it was so alarming to me. It was interesting and then alarming that people were so quick to grab a poll. They were just say, NFTs are the future. And if you're stuck in Web 2, whatever that means, you're dead. And, we're all going to get rich and you're all poor. See you later, nerds. And then the NFTs are scam people were like, there are no redeeming qualities to any of this.
Yeah, well, the people grab onto, this is what people do for everything. They grab onto one or the other, and they're like, that's it.
That's it. And then the conversation stalls, right? Everything it stays stagnant. I feel like culture has been stagnant for that reason. We do it with everything now. It's like a sneaker comes out and everyone has have an opinion on it, write an editorial piece, do a TikTok, or write a blog.
Are they doing that? I'm so out of that.
They still do that? And everyone has like an opinion, and you don't. Why do we have to have judgments on every single thing?
Like on a sneaker.
On a sneaker. Because when you do that, you end, it's a period on the conversation instead of an ongoing dialogue. Yeah. And we've done that throughout culture with tech. We do it with people every day with cancel culture. We are very quick to lay down verdicts of like, this person is this.
We've been talking about that for years.
Forever.
Me and you, right?
Forever.
I mean, that's been going on forever. I mean, if cancel culture existed Like when I was in like my early 20s, I would have been so canceled. Like I wore fucking cornrows, okay? Like I wore cornrows.
I had dreads at one point. I had like
would be done.
really bad dreads.
Well, at least you're a person of color. Like I don't know. It doesn't
matter.
No, they'd still cancel you. But like for me, like I had cornrows, you know, and like I would
picture you with cornrows, but it's like the best thing ever.
The reason I actually got them was because I chopped my bangs off too short once because I thought I would look like James King. Spoiler alert, I didn't look like James King when I did this. So I went to a salon, you know, like a black salon, and was like, "Can you please help me? I need you to braid these back with fake hair to help me so I don't have many bangs." And that's when I got them done, and I was rocking them for like a month.
She looked great.
Yeah, they looked cute. I looked a little manly actually with them, but there's a picture in a book by Kai Regan that I'm in it. It's because I was at this Tribeca Grand for a party or something. This is like in like 2002 or something. And the photo exists for sure. I'll find it and we'll use it in this. We'll use it. No, it's not. No. It's only in a book. It's not online, but it will be soon. And then everyone
can find it now. I gotta find it and put it in this
We're
pod.
just going to use AI like Mid-Journey to write a prompt for
That's a good
Leah
idea.
In
Wait,
braids.
what is AI going to do?
AI, well,
What could AI
with
do?
these AI platforms, you can feed it any type of prompt. Say, I
Wow.
want to see Leah with these braids, and
Yeah,
it'll
and
just
it'll
give
find
it.
it.
Yeah, immediately.
Or it'll
create
make it.
It'll create it. That's the difference
create it.
between generative AI and something like Google. It feels the same because you're essentially giving it a prompt and it finds it.
Yeah.
Google's giving you what already exists, and what AI is doing is creating something new that doesn't exist. That's the difference between the two.
I'm going to change topics.
Please.
Okay.
I think we should go back to 2002, by the way, but.
Let's go back to what's 2002 is fun. What were you doing in 2002?
Well, I was thinking about starting this company.
You were like, were you in law? I know. Were you in law school at the time?
So I was in law school. We were coming off of 9/11.
Right.
Up until that point, I was doing a lot of freelance art, writing for magazines. I was working at Transworld. I was writing for Giant Robot, Mass Appeal. And then I came to a point after 9/11, the media dried up. I think people kind of forget this era of print publishing, but it had already died once before. All the advertisers pulled out of the magazines because of New York. And then after that, it was hard to get freelance jobs. And I moved to Japan for a bit to like write for Japanese magazines because there's more work out there.
Okay.
And a lot of Japanese street fashion, street culture magazines. And then I went out there I worked for like 3 months on a piece about Japanese hip hop and hip hop culture. That's where I stumbled into Bape and what Nigo was doing in Ape Sounds. And then a lot of like the Japanese rap artists at the time. And I discovered streetwear. And I was living in Nagoya in Japan and Tokyo,
which streetwear, that term what did we even call it back then? I don't remember because we didn't use that word.
I don't think we used that word.
We didn't use the word period, I don't think.
We didn't use the word. And the word existed obviously because of tribal streetwear or vision streetwear.
Yeah.
It was around, but what was happening, and I want to say that, and New York was really the center of the universe as far as street fashion was concerned, especially in that era.
Yeah.
We were looking to all of you guys, and Russ with Sir.
I was looking to them. We were looking to them.
You were you were in the scene.
I started, I was like I was hanging out. I was in the scene.
You were in the scene.
I was in the
scene. But, what Rob and the guys were doing with A-Life and Sir and Jamie with J Money, Priceless and Union New York.
Oh my God, Priceless. Matt. Yeah, he had Clarendon before that. Do you remember Clarendon?
Very cool.
Clarendon was fucking dope. And then what's his name? Someone became a part of it. I think Jonathan Chabon.
Oh.
I think Jonathan Chabon became a part of Clarendon and got all these like celebrities to wear it, and then no one cares. It's like, nah, we don't want to wear that now.
It's so funny.
Right?
We were talking the other day. I was at a conference. I must have brought it up on stage. I was at VCon, which is Gary V's conference, and there's like hundreds of people in the crowd, and the topic was about brands and culture. And the people that were on stage with me, it was like Scooter Braun was supposed to be on, he got replaced, but Constance Schwartz-Marini was on there.
Hot.
Do you think so?
I think so. He's short though, I think.
And so anyways, we were talking about brands and celebrities.
Yeah.
And the question was, Bobby, what was like the big celebrity moment for your brand with the hundreds? And how do you guys seed your product or get a product placed on famous influencers? And we're like, first of all, we're a bit anomalous in that we've never really done that and not leaned into it.
Yeah.
And it's because we came up with that generation of streetwear where it was frowned upon.
Totally.
It was the worst thing that could happen to your brand.
Yes.
Was a celebrity wearing your clothing.
Oh my God, it's so true.
Yeah. And people, it's weird for kids to think about today because all they want to do is to get in on a rapper or to get in on an influencer. And we still have this, and it's very boomer logic, and it probably hurts us in the end, but we're like, if a celebrity wears it, we're kind of like, I don't even really know how to talk about this.
Right. And it really depends on what celebrity.
Right.
Too. Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I think Jonathan Chabon was like getting Clarendon on like Jessica Simpson.
Right. Yeah. And
like that didn't like add up. Like no shades of Jessica Simpson, but like that was not like the customer. That wasn't what they were trying to do with Clarendon. And then so Matt started Priceless, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
That's why.
And so that era of brands, I think we were all under the same understanding that there weren't celebrities.
And by the way, it might not be Jonathan Chabon. I don't know why I keep saying that. I have to
keep saying it over and over. I keep saying that
over and over. Can you actually like Google
I'll check
and just see like Clarendon, Jonathan Chabon?
Gotcha.
It might be someone else.
Okay.
But this is from 2002, 2004. It might not even be online.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll look for you.
But yeah, I mean, it was really, I think we were all under the understanding that there wasn't a single individual who would encapsulate the entirety of your brand.
Right.
You know, and still to this day, people are like, who's like the ideal celebrity that represents the hundreds? I'm like, no one. I can't think of a single person.
Remember when like all the celebrities started wearing Bape?
Yes.
It was like
Bape's dead.
Like Bape's over.
I was telling someone yesterday. I remember when,
but it wasn't
in the Supreme magazine when they had a lookbook with Puffy in it, wearing it. And today that'd be like cool, but at that time we're like Supreme's
like
dead,
sacrilegious.
Yeah, it's
like what?
Gonna be oversaturated now because now Pete Diddy's wearing Supreme and it's not cool anymore. And that was like 20 years ago.
Oh my God, I know. What a fun, crazy like era that we like.
I'm so glad we were there.
Lived through and got to be a part of.
We're so lucky to be a part of that.
I made like no money off of it, but it's
zero
fine.
money.
No, you made money off of it.
No, I mean, if I had any of the money, it's not around anymore.
You guys made money other ways.
We make money other ways, but really we don't make that much, and it's all relative.
It's all relative.
I don't think, I don't make money the way that people think I make money.
Okay, because I thought you were really rich from NFTs now.
No.
Don't be ashamed if you are, though.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. We made a lot of money off of the collection that we dropped in 2021. In August of 2021, we dropped a collection called Atom Bomb Squad. It's 25,000 NFTs. We sold them each for, at the time, what equated to $330 US.
I bought mine for much more than that.
You did?
Yes.
Because they sold out in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was the most amount of money we've ever made in less than an hour.
That's incredible.
But you have to also take into account the developers that we had to pay. We worked on the project for 8 months.
You guys also have like a huge staff and warehouse.
Yeah, we have
like,
all this overhead, and we have a clothing company that the entire premise of us moving into Web3 and NFTs was to reduce the amount of physical footprint that we're, in terms of waste. And so it was like, let's make less clothing.
I didn't know that.
That's what the whole white paper, which is essentially the mission statement of Atom Bomb Squad, was predicated upon, was we need to move more and more of our status signaling and our social badges to the digital realm instead of like, we don't need more t-shirts and clothes. Like we all have enough clothes to last us 2.5 generations.
It's crazy.
So like everyone open up your closet, like you have enough clothes to last like you and your children. Though. But everyone
look what I'm wearing. I mean,
you look great.
No, I look cute. But
the reason why we keep buying this stuff is for all these reasons, as far as like community, identity, status signaling, social status, all of that. But you can accomplish that through virtual. You can accomplish that through your digital.
You're like, look what I have.
Yeah.
Look what my little Avi is now.
Exactly. Like your blue check on your Twitter is like an NFT.
So interesting.
People are like, I would never buy anything digital. I'm like, people buy their blue checks. It's the same that you're doing it all.
So interesting.
So philosophically, we don't need as much clothing. We can move more and more of that status signaling online. If we do that, then there's less waste in the world.
Should I make NFTs?
You can, but if you are genuinely curious,
I need to get in the community,
and you want to be in the community, which I think is the best part, because they're, I think, some of the most thoughtful, innovative people.
Everyone seemed so cool, and Victor, was that his name?
Yeah, Fuocious.
Yeah. His story, I wanted to fucking cry.
Yeah, Fuocious is an artist who's now 20, but when he was 17, he's a trans artist. He was raised in a really abusive home. His parents wouldn't allow him to do art. They made fun of his art, and that's all he wanted to do. And then
where is he from?
Someone to NFTs. He's from.
I heard a little.
I think he's from New York.
Oh, really? I thought I heard a little accent or something. No, maybe not.
I want to say he's from New York.
Such a sweetie.
Such a sweet kid. Got into NFTs. The community really rallied behind him. That kid makes a lot of, talk about making money. He releases art and he makes millions and millions of dollars off the bat. It's like, and these are NFTs over and over again. Like, we did it once. He does it consistently and still.
He crashed the Christie's website.
He's the first artist to crash the Christie's website. And he was an NFT
artist.
What's
his project?
His name is Fuocious. Yes, people should look him up.
Absolutely, I'm going to.
But he's a success story. Because of that, he got to move out of his abusive environment. He's like
has his own life. And imagine he's going to help people now. You know what I mean?
He's been doing that already, because a lot of artists have been inspired by his story, and then you've been seeing a lot of others replicate the same type of success. So it's great. You know, it's just like another avenue for creators to basically make a living and establish an identity and career for themselves.
Right.
Like if they couldn't, we had to do that through streetwear. I tried to get into the art space, and every art gallery at that time, 20 years ago, was like, we don't know who you are. You don't know the right people. I'm like, can you put my canvases on your... It's so... Right, there's like
douche.
There's so many barriers and gatekeeping.
It's so elitist and gatekeeping. It's insane.
And so streetwear was a way for us to circumnavigate that.
It was for the misfits.
Exactly.
That's why I was a raver. It was for the misfits. It's like, I don't belong anywhere. I'll be the underdog forever. I'm never gonna win, damn it. No, but like, I'm always like, it's honestly like, I just go where the outcasts are. That's like that's why I became Jewish. But you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, the outcasts, and then we all figure out a way to get in through a side door, or we just break in.
Exactly.
Right? Like we figure out, let's all break in this way, or like knock the fences down. That's what Streetwear did. It was like, oh, you're not going to show my art? Then I'll put my art into t-shirts. And so now the world can still see it. Oh, you're not going to welcome us into your trade show? Then Aaron Levant starts Agenda.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like, we'll do our own thing over here and make it bigger, and then we'll consume yours.
Trade shows were fun.
Trade shows were really good.
So much
and
fun,
important.
And like, just
why don't they still do that? There was so much fun to go to.
Changed.
Everything is different. Just
everything's
streetwear.
Different.
Also, like I've just been out of the loop with streetwear for the last like 5 years.
Yeah, how does it look to you right now? I'm still obviously.
I don't know what's going on.
At all.
There nothing?
No care. No care. You don't care.
I don't care. I don't.
Why?
Because it doesn't really make me any money.
Yeah.
I like seeing friends.
Okay, I don't think it's that, because we were never really making money.
It's true.
Because the community and the culture fell out. A lot of people just moved on.
Yeah.
It was fun. We did it back then because it was like really fun hanging out with all our friends.
Right, exactly.
And then there was some money. There was never a lot of money.
But it was my main focus. It's like Mob was like for like 15 years.
Yeah.
Why I got up in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, it's why I like existed, was Mob. And then everything changed.
What was the moment for you that it changed?
It changed in 2017 when my licensing guys like got rid of my office, and I got off Klonopin and was like, I'm too stressed out. Like, this is stressing me out too much, and it's ruining my quality of life, and it's not giving me the return I want. So I'm going to downsize everything. Put not as much effort in, probably take home more money because I'm downsizing everything, but I'll just drop ship.
Yeah.
And I started writing, and I wrote that Penthouse article, and then I wrote the article for Tablet about the Women's March, and then I got casted on the show.
Which is an insane series of events, because I remember
an insane series of events.
Being there during that time, and you were like, this is happening now. Now I'm auditioning for this show, and it was like, this is happening very quickly. Right
before the show, I interviewed with Adidas in Portland. because I needed a job.
Oh, I think I remember this.
And I was like, I'm done having my own, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Like I can't, and Rob was like, how are you going to live in Portland? I'm like, I don't know, Rob, but like, I need to figure out what I'm doing with my life. I'll come back for weekends. Like I don't know. Kier will move to Portland with me. Like we'll figure it out. But like, there's nothing here for me right now. Like, I can't do mob anymore. Like I need to build my skill set and like get a job and be stable and like not like, I'm just sick of being stressed. Well, I didn't realize how stressful the show was going to be too. But obviously it really like changed my life in a lot of ways. But yeah, like I didn't know what was going on. And then God was like, all right, try this out.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. Like the universe, God, whatever, was like, okay, do this.
You're not on the show anymore?
No.
When did it end?
So basically like it aired in 2020. So I did it 2019, then it aired again in 2021, I think. Yeah. And then it was on a very long break. And then I did like what is it called? A spinoff over this that just aired again. That just aired, and now I'm done. I mean, I'm not done with like I don't know. I'm done with that format of reality TV for
like
sure.
You personally,
yes.
You're tapped out. I don't want to do this anymore.
No way, I can't. There's no way. Because I don't want to invite people into my life to make it toxic.
Was that happening a lot?
Yeah.
In terms of fans?
No.
Oh,
no.
In terms of other people on the show.
Not even that. Just the environment. It's just a lot of
toxic.
It's toxic. Yeah, it is. And like some people are like great with dealing with that. And it's like, I'm on like I don't want to call it a journey, but whatever.
We're all on
a journey.
Yeah.
It's like mine is just a different one that needs to be leading to inner peace.
Yeah.
And like feeling good.
Yep.
And I'm really trying to do that. Like it's been a lot of years, like with the mental health stuff, which can we talk about?
Yes, but before we get there, because that'll be the teasers that people can keep watching. Before we get there, I do want to comment on that because I'm constantly around a lot of young people, and I was in this last week with a good friend of mine, Betty, who's coming up in her career. She's the founder of Dead Fellas, which is a really cool NFT collection.
Okay.
Probably the best project in terms of community in the entire Web3 space. So everyone check it out.
Okay.
But, she's kind of coming up in her career, and I'm not coming down, but there are things where she's like, hey, I'm going to go out to this, I'm going to go out to that, or I'm going to take on this endeavor. And I was like, number one, it's not that I don't have the strength or care, and it's not that I don't have the strength or the care to do that anymore, but maybe I just don't have the same type of care anymore. When I'm at this point in my career where I'm like, I don't need to do things for money. I don't need to do things for glory.
Yeah.
I definitely don't need more followers. I don't need a bigger audience. Like I've realized, it's like that 1,000-person rule. Like I just need actually about 1,000, couple thousand, like dedicated followers in order to support my livelihood.
Wow.
But I've reached a point, at a level in my career where I'm like, this is probably about the amount of money I need. I've had more money, I've had less money, and I'm like, I'm right about here in order for me to do what I need to do to be happy, which is really at the end of the day for me, surfing, hanging out with my kids, getting to make something, writing, and like having good meals with friends. That's it. I'm like, maybe a couple vacations a year.
Yeah.
I don't really need to do much else. Like I don't need a fancier car. I don't need a bigger house. I'd love a bigger house, but then I'm pretty fine with the house we have. It's a very normal house in LA.
Yeah.
And so reaching that point is like the most liberating in terms of like, before it's like, I need more. I need $1 billion. I need XYZ. We're going to sell our company for $200 million one day. I'm like, that would be super nice, obviously. And nobody's offering this. If you are, just let me know.
I'm also down to sell mob, so let me know.
We're here to sell. But totally okay with it not happening. Very, very like okay with where it is now. But in terms of ambition, in terms of passion, it's still very much there because you and I are always going to be like this. We're going to want more and more. But in terms of do we need like a zillion more dollars? Do we need like a zillion more fans? Do you still feel like you need that?
I still feel like I definitely need more money.
Yeah.
For sure.
For what? What do you need it for?
It's very expensive to live in New York.
It is very expensive. I can't speak on it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like, I don't know. I guess maybe I don't need more money. This is the thing. I would like more money, but I also know, like you're talking about, like, and I'm talking about with the show, right? Or with these particular shows, you know, in general, because it's not even like they pay you that much, but obviously there's a certain amount. I was able to really capitalize off of the show.
Yeah.
Like Mob did like very well.
I remember,
like in just like that 1 year, I was ready to just shut Mob down. I was like, oh, I'm going to be on the show. I better put my website back up. And then it was
you were like,
it.
we're selling more stickers.
I'm like selling more than anything, right? Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, just like brand sponsorships and like the book deal, just everything. Like I was able to really, you know, and it's like once you're, you know, able to live in an apartment this size, it's hard to like go down, right? Or when you're taking a vacation like to this place, you know, and you're flying like first class, right? Then like, but now I'm not flying. I'm only flying economy, but it's fine.
I'm flying home in a couple hours, and I'm flying economy. Yeah. To upgrade was $1,000+ more dollars.
Yeah, no,
and
it's just not necessary.
It's 5 hours. I'm gonna sleep 3 hours of it.
Exactly. It's really not.
So we're gonna be okay.
Totally. We don't need lie flat seats
it's just like,
all the time.
It's nice.
But you know what else I realized? No, you know what else I realized? And I told this to my friend the other day because she goes, "Should I take an Uber X or an Uber Black? There's a $5 difference." I said, "You know what a rich person would do? They would take a fucking Uber X and save $5, honey." So you start thinking like a rich person, because I realized that when I went to Palm Beach for the first time, and all the rich ladies with their facelifts were not sitting with the extra leg room, except I was, and I had the least amount of money on that whole fucking plane. And I'm like, why did I just spend $90 when these bitches are holding on to every penny?
Yes, exactly. And as far as truly wealthy people, we all know this, the rich don't brag of their wealth.
No.
Like all the people with old money, they look like they are broke, and they live like they're broke.
Yeah.
And I think it's because...
That doesn't sound like fun, though.
It doesn't sound fun, but I think they've also maybe experienced wealth to a point where they're like, it's actually not... The happiness or joy isn't there. You know? Like, we actually didn't need all the extraness. Like, we could be here.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is like what I learned from this last few years of my life in this new environment and with this new job is that, like... There is no amount of money that is worth my well-being.
Yes.
There's no amount of money.
Yes. Yeah.
There just isn't.
Yeah.
I can't ever go through what I went through. Sorry. Last January, I can't ever do that again. Like, I can't. I cannot. You know what I mean? Like, what is the worst has already happened. Like, so they're just, you know, I just.
What happened last January?
I mean, I don't want to fully get into it because like I'm going to get into it. But like, you know, I had a complete nervous breakdown. I don't even know what it was, you know, but I had to go to a hospital.
January 22, 23 this
22.
year.
Yeah. And it's still obviously I'm not fully.
Yeah.
You know, because like it wrecks your confidence.
Yeah. Out of nowhere.
It wasn't out of nowhere. No, of course not.
You could tell that you were starting to backslide a little
like,
bit.
Yeah. Like, you know, I was agitated. I was not taking care of myself. Things were going on. I was not being honest with myself about like where I was at mentally, how the job was affecting me, how I was being treated by people was affecting me, things like that, you know? So it's just, you know, it's like, it's hard to admit because I don't want to be like, I'm just weak. I can't handle this and other people can. But I'm trying to look at it like it was a sign from the inner depths of my being that I needed to change shit up. Yeah. I need to do things differently. And like, whatever, when you hear that part of you talk, like that is God telling you. To me, that's how I take it, you know, like that's God, that's something from beyond, and like your most inner maybe survival instincts or whatever it is. Like it was like too much. This is too much for me. I took on too much. Yeah. And there's just no amount of money that is worth this. There's no amount of, it's really interesting too, because people think like, ooh, success, fame, money, like parties, like people caring about you, people paying attention to you. This is going to fill you up. This is going to make you feel away. A lot of people want that. Most young people,
most everybody wants that.
Most young people, I just like read that like 80% of young people just want to be famous.
Yeah.
It's fucking.
They just want clout. They don't even want money anymore. They just want clout.
Which is, I really signed up for the show for money.
Yeah.
To hope to potentially make money. You know, never really for the fame part at all. But I could see how it could become addictive. You know, it's
100%.
like, wait, now people aren't paying attention to me. I don't really want them to, but why aren't they? You know, that kind of thing. But you know, it like I learned a very hard lesson, and it's like this kind of job, it comes at a very steep price that you have to pay. And I think what you're saying with ambition and with so much of my self-worth is tied into like, what am I doing? Am I succeeding? What am I accomplishing? Are people caring about what I'm doing? You know? And I struggle with that. I might always, because it's also a personality thing, like which was what Rasanath was saying. This monk that I had on, you know, I was going to Hare Krishna. We've talked about this. So one of my monk came on here. He's not a monk anymore, but anyway, it's like some things are innate, like an entrepreneur like mentality.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, you know, we can do what we can to kind of like deal with our personalities the best way we can and to try to stay happy and peaceful, but like we have to deal with ourselves, and it's hard. We're not going to change who we are. Like that's never going to be different about me. It's just not, you know. I just have to learn to deal with it better.
We're certainly hardwired a way that is distinct from, I would say, like the general population, for better and for worse. You know, that's why we are the ones that are creating and founding, innovating industries and on the front lines of culture. Like we're the ones that are turning the world, but it comes at a really, really heavy cost. And some people, I'd say all of us buckle under it. The last couple of years were extremely difficult for almost everybody that I know, especially if they were like us. You know, if they were creators and founders.
People killed themselves. People OD'd. Like I went to multiple funerals, you know?
Yeah.
And we had 2 friends that died of cancer, which obviously is different, but like that shit.
But still,
Virgil and Keith dying, that was another thing.
Yeah,
that shit fucked me up.
Really, really a lot.
Fucked me up
for us. Yeah, I mean, I almost started crying last night at dinner when we were talking about Verge. There was a Clubhouse show called Culture Club that our friend Jeff Carvalho does with Ben and Ruba, and Verge used to be on that show a lot, and those were like some of our last conversations. But you know, I don't think a lot of us from our generation, from streetwear and street fashion, especially like the peers like us, have fully dealt with and processed what happened with Virgil and Keith, because it happened during the pandemic.
Yep.
And things were already all fucked up and layered anyways. And then that happened. We're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And now there are moments where I'm like, still, I can't believe this fool's not around.
Same.
Like, I cannot believe that this guy does not exist in this conversation anymore.
Yeah.
I actually got even into it in my NFT book. I'm talking about like why people are building metaverses and why they're so intent on blockchain. And, you know, and I was just like, there's probably a future where we are going to live forever online. And because Virgil, in a way, feels like he still exists because so much of his digital shrapnel is everywhere.
Yeah.
He had conversations with everybody on text, and he put out so much content material that he's going to live forever in his work. His legacy is going to live on digitally. But anyways, that's kind of a tangent. It's just, it affected a lot of us in ways where I know Virgil's passing woke a lot of people up as far as what they were doing with their lives and what was meaningful and important to them. It did for me.
He treated people well too. That's the other thing. Like he just treated people really well.
Yeah, he did, you know, and he acknowledged everyone. He made everybody feel very much seen.
Beyond. I don't even know how the hell he did, like how he had so much time to like always make sure to be
just like
a sweetheart.
To just say hi to everyone.
Like incredible, honestly.
And we really needed that, because what he ended up becoming was almost like an avatar or an embodiment of the entire culture.
Yeah.
Like in a human. You know, we all felt very much connected because we had Virgil in common. Like everybody felt like I wasn't like super tight with Virgil, but I was his friend. But everyone feels like that. Like people who had one conversation were like, oh, that's my friend. And I'm like, yeah, he was just as much friend as your friend as anyone else's because he cared about you. Even if it was for 5 seconds, he acknowledged you, you know?
I feel like Kanye kind of went off the deep end after that. Don't you think?
I think that's a very fair argument to say. I think it was not, and then, you know, and not just putting it on Kanye. I think the entire fashion world has had an identity crisis, if not an existential crisis since.
Right.
It's felt a little bit unmoored. And even within sneakers, obviously, I think Nike is a bit lost without having Virgil. And not that Virgil was like the entirety, but he was the face of that of that generation, like Jordan was in the 80s and 90s.
Completely.
And so without a face like that, it's like, oh, do we pin this on Travis Scott? Do we pin this on, like, where do we go?
No, there's not even a,
you know, there's no one
there's
close.
No comparison. And there's no one like him.
Sure, they're scraping to find who the next one is.
That's
but
like no, Virgil's a once in a lifetime.
Yes.
That's it. That's a once in a lifetime.
True. Yeah.
Maybe once in 2 lifetimes. Like, he was so special. There's no one else like him.
Which is just so like mind-boggling that he disappeared. It just makes the unfairness and rawness of life feel so much more, I don't know, unforgiving. It was just unforgiving.
Yeah.
You know, and then Keith as well. It seems like some of our favorite, most iconic and influential, like the people that everyone were the most beloved were the ones that are being taken really early. And I just can't make a lot of sense of it. It's been hard. It's been really hard.
There's a bunch of assholes that I wouldn't even care if they disappeared.
I'm like, why that guy, but not
what about the
guy?
other dude?
Over here, I'm like, nobody likes this guy.
No one likes him.
We're
thinking of the same person. People. No, I'm kidding.
But
oh man,
thanks for sharing that. It was the last couple years were really, really difficult.
They were.
And everyone I know in almost every sector of every industry, every generation, young people, older people, all went through something that was very much a crisis.
Yeah.
And you cannot divorce from the fact that it was a very disruptive and unstable time. It still is. I think we've somewhat gotten a little bit of our bearings back, but dude, we lived through a pandemic. It's insane to think about. You just looking at the photos still seems very surreal and Black Mirror-ish.
Empty.
Everyone masked up, stores boarded up, and we're like,
dystopian.
How did we go through that? those are the photos in 100 years.
And then we're just supposed to jump
books.
back into fucking life. Like,
exactly.
Here we are.
Yeah.
We're ready to go back to killing it. Yeah. I'm not I'm not ready.
Like half the people are still wearing masks and like burrowed at home.
I know.
And then the other half were like, yo, I'm good. I'm back at this. But I'm like, you haven't processed the trauma of what happened over the last few years. But by all means, go. And then they're like, my life's slowly falling apart. I don't know why. And I'm like, because that was fucking nuts what we went through. And you just are pretending like it was all okay.
Right.
But it was scary as shit. It's still really scary. Like this world is just very, very scary.
Politically,
culture
socially,
wars.
Economics,
environmentally,
wars, environment.
Tech,
it just seems like it's the end of times. I'm like, I just saw some TikTok. For some reason, my algorithm is all conspiracy stuff, which I think I'm being, what is it called when you're being
Inception?
Changed by the internet? You're being radicalized. Yeah, I'm being radicalized into a conspiracy theorist. No, but one guy who's like a Christian or born again Christian was like, this is like what the Bible says, and it's coming, and it's da-da-da. And I was like, oh my God.
I mean, they were saying that in the 90s and the 80s.
They already said that a million. Remember Y2K and everything?
Y2K.
Yeah,
I remember in the 80s, you know, in Revelations, it talks about a mountain called Wormwood that is going to spill poisons into the waters, and that's the end of time. It says it's literally in Revelations, and Wormwood translated into Russian is Chernobyl. And Chernobyl was like this mountainous nuclear plant that seeped into the waters and poisoned the town. So everyone in the 80s was like, these are the end times. And can you imagine if we had TikTok back then? Everyone would be like, this is it. every generation has had some kind of existential apocalypse hovering over them. And for many generations in the past, it was war.
Yeah.
You know,
it was 9/11.
It was 9/11 for us,
right? And
but then our parents' generation was like nuclear war. Which imagine the threat of every day, like looking at planes flying overhead, going, "Am I about to evaporate?"
Wait, did that happen in America?
Well, it happened in Japan, in Hiroshima,
right? No,
in Nagasaki.
Totally.
But to see an entire city wiped off the face of the globe in like a heartbeat,
crazy.
Once everyone realized, oh, nations have the power to do this to each other, like that type of threat. Going to school every day, going like, people build bomb bunkers everywhere. They're all over LA and Hollywood. Most major cities have bomb bunkers because of that reason. Like, imagine looking out back and there are people that are like burnt, like in your backyard, just being like, just in case a plane flies overhead and drops something, jump down here. Like that kind of trauma, like growing up in that, we've never experienced that. Being a human is
trauma. That's
exactly.
It. Like that's it, right? Like,
I mean, I think if COVID and pandemic taught us anything, was that so much of our reality is buttressed and scaffolded by just complete myths and fictions, and nothing is actually real, and like nothing's actually secure. We follow all these rules and like moral guidelines, but we all follow, like we made it up, And so like when COVID comes along or a pandemic, then everything is just like, well, what's real and it's just like, well, nothing was ever real. We were just kind of going with the flow of life, but nothing is promised, right? Like a meteor can hit the earth tomorrow.
Well, Dr. Ellen Vora said it was a disruptor.
Yeah.
It was just a disruptor. It disrupted everything. And it's like, whoa, things could be.
I think it was just a wake-up call that life has always been uncertain.
Yeah.
The universe is entirely uncertain. Like nothing's promised. Like there's no reason why the world should exist tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so we get very comfortable and take it for granted, the fact that we get to breathe oxygen and live like really full and meaningful lives every day. But like none of this is promised. And so when COVID comes along, we're like, oh, tomorrow's not certain. It's like, it never was. It never was certain. People get hit by cars, like there's bombs that hit cities. People get sick. And like, so every day you just take it, you have to appreciate every day, and not to be cliche about the whole thing. But I think COVID really woke people up. Is this a heavy one?
I've never cried on the podcast before.
You haven't?
So yeah.
I feel really special
Honored.
that you were comfortable doing that with me.
I am. Well, I love you. You know that. We've known each other for a really long time.
We've known each other a really long time.
And yesterday you shared something.
Yeah. Well, like speaking of crying, so we were sitting at dinner last night, and I don't even know why I mentioned. Oh, we were talking. Everyone was going around talking about their relationships with me.
Yeah.
And stories with me, which I was like really the most cringe, most painful experience.
He loved it. His ego loved it. Yeah, part of him loved it.
But really, I was like, can I hide? Can I be in another room while you guys talk about me? But I just don't want to be here while you. It's like, a lot of us narcissists, egomaniacs dream of this, of like, can I stage my funeral where I'm actually alive in my casket and I can hear?
Larry David did that?
I loved it.
Yeah, and we're all, you and I are Larry David.
Yeah, we are.
Internally.
Totally.
My assistant was up to bat, and she was talking about what it's like working with me, and I'm like, well, I was like, one of my favorite stories is last year, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And I remember when I was I told my wife, it's like, hey, I just got out of therapy. This sounds crazy. And she's brushing her teeth. She's like, And I was like, my therapist thinks I might have bipolar disorder. And she's just like, And I was like, it's crazy. And she's like, what part of that's crazy to you? And I was like, oh, I don't know. She's just like, do you not think you have bipolar disorder? And I'm like, well, I guess she's just like, of course you do. It's apparent to everyone. I'm like, oh, that's my wife. So then I hit up my brothers. We're on a group chat. I'm like, guys, this is crazy. I got to tell you something crazy happened today. My therapist, my psychiatrist, they think I have bipolar disorder. And my brothers just start laughing. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, we've known our whole lives.
Oh my God.
So then I go to work and my head is reeling.
Yeah.
And the first person I see is my assistant. And my assistant Nancy walks into the office. I'm like, close the door. I got some news for you. She's like, what? She locks the door and I'm like, turns out I have bipolar disorder. And she's like, And Nancy's the sweetest, kindest person in the history of the world. she's like, okay. And I was like, well, like, how do you feel about it? I was like, does that explain anything? She's like, yeah, that kind of explains a lot. And I was like, oh, so you've experienced this too. That's when I realized, I was like, this diagnosis is the most liberating, because I can actually go back to some of my friends and my family and apologize honestly, not apologizing for the disorder, right? But really just like apologizing for, wow, I wasn't aware that I must have been really difficult to deal with sometimes, or you might not have understood what was happening in my brain when I would be up or down.
Right.
And they were like, thanks. We had an inkling that was what was going on.
Wow.
But it really is nice to hear you acknowledge it. And so just being aware and sensitive that I have the tendency to do this has been super beneficial. And also in the process of this journey that I'm on, this has only been the last few years. I've been suffering from anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember. Those are very, very real, have been a part of my understanding. That's not anything new. But the diagnosis of bipolarity over the last year has been like super illuminating. I just finished a book about Tony Hsieh, who is the founder of Zappos. You know Tony's story?
Yes. Yeah, it's really intense.
I don't. I just know that he passed away, right?
Yeah,
and then he also bought a land in Vegas. I don't know a lot about him, but it's really sad.
Very charismatic
he was friends
leader.
With Fiona Apple or something.
Jewel. Yeah, may have been friends with Fiona Apple too.
Right, but Jewel, that's one thing. Yeah.
Super charismatic leader. Very early in the .com boom. Sold his company to Jeff Bezos and Amazon and made trillions and millions and zillions of dollars. Very successful story. Moved to Vegas. Built Zappos. Really became a part of Las Vegas and the come up of that city. And then started unraveling a bit, just emotionally and then psychologically. And he ended up, they haven't disclosed, I don't think, there's a definite judgment on what exactly happened, but he burned in this fire on this land that he had bought. But there's a book that he was a part of called Delivering Happiness, which is a really, really phenomenal book. If you're an entrepreneur, read it. And there's been other literature since, but there's a new book out from people who've collected stories about him. And two journalists, two women, I forget which papers they're with, but they put this book together and they talk about what it was like in his final days, and really what it's about is the stigma of mental health and entrepreneurship.
Wow.
And the imparting message of Tony Hsieh's story is that we do not talk about this enough amongst founders and creators, artists, entrepreneurs. But the reality is, I think the statistics, and I don't have them in front of me, are something like 70% of entrepreneurs do have some kind of mental health issue, compared to 30% of non-entrepreneur people. Wow. And of entrepreneurs, about 11% are diagnosed or have bipolar disorder, right? Which is a significant amount of people.
It is.
And I remember when my psychiatrist was, sat me down for 2 hours, we go through all the sites, and by the end of it, he's like, you want your diagnosis? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you couldn't be more bipolar. Wow. I'm like, whoa.
Bipolar 2.
Bipolar 2. Yeah. He's like, we're thinking bipolar 2, which is definitely different from bipolar 1. Kanye's, what he said was, he's like, Kanye's bipolar 1.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, he said is, he's just like, how do you feel with that news? I'm like, well, this is kind of new, and I'm not sure how to process it. He's like, almost every entrepreneur, every founder, every CEO, every co-founder, owner of something has this. Everyone in this bracket, a tax bracket, about 90% of these people have some semblance or a degree of bipolar disorder.
No.
So he's like, there is certainly a stigma associated with it, but the reality is you are also the people that the world celebrates.
Wait, like a high tax bracket, basically.
Yes, like the most successful, wealthiest people in the world.
And a lot of men.
A lot of men. And yes, which is also, and then the other part of it too was in Tony Hsieh's story is that according to different mental health organizations, Asian Americans are the least likely to go out and seek mental health treatment.
Wow.
Because of just the way that our culture is, it's not really shown brightly on. It's more of something you just deal with. Like they didn't have that growing up.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? It's that kind of
this. We did this. Yeah. Like if you're down, just get it together, pull it together. Stuff my parents would say, like immigrant parents. And so, hey, it's been great for me because I'm an Asian American. I'm an entrepreneur. Now I'm much more sensitive and aware of my friends around me when they're going through stuff. And I'm like, even if I share it with them, I'm like, hey, look, I deal with this. This is how I do. You know, when I'm down, I'm more aware of me being down. And people tell me, I think you're down now. So then I'll cancel my meetings for that day. I won't do podcasts. And then when I'm up, that's when I'll schedule like creative meetings. And I'm like, I know I'm going to be like rapid fire with ideas and I'm going to work like hardcore. I won't sleep much during that season either. So I'm like in a period.
How much? I mean, you need to sleep.
I don't sleep much. Like last night I slept like 3 to 4 hours.
What?
But this is also a part of the entrepreneurial bipolar intersection is high stress, very poor sleep, crazy like rapid fire ideas,
no, I know.
like manic in our mania. And then there are seasons where I'm like, I cannot move. Like I can't get out of bed and I don't want to deal with anything. And like everything is very hopeless. Yeah. And it comes out of nowhere sometimes. Like I'll just plunge. Does that happen to you where you're just, it feels like you just like are off a cliff?
Oh my God. Yeah. Beyond. And also like my hypomania is like different, even though, so when Mob did the most amount of sales, I was in a hypomanic state completely. Like just ideas constantly, so much energy, traveling, like just fucking taking it on, like taking on everything. I have not had like that many more bursts of hypomania since then. Yeah. There's been some times, but like I was medicated for a long time on like crazy shit that I'll never take again. Now I'm just on like regular antidepressants and like luckily the hypomania, but sadly, because the hypomania part is not bad. Like,
it's awesome. It's when you feel like you're a superhero.
I know. I actually felt like I looked super hot. So I would be like, hypersexual though. Like when I was hypomanic, I'd be so horny. Yeah. And like crazy. Like not like fucking strangers, but like just really sexual and like needing sex. And like I felt like I didn't eat a lot, I was like very thin and I'd be working out and I don't know. I was just had so much energy, but now my hypomania is agitation and it's agitated depression and it's horrible. It is.
Tell me about that. That's not something I know enough about.
See, that's the thing because it can, because now I got diagnosed when I was on my 30th birthday with bipolar. And so I know when you're saying this liberating feeling, I know that feeling because I fucking remember being like, even though I was like, kind of like, great, my 30th birthday, I didn't want to hear this, but like we went through the doctor, I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like I'm sitting again in your office crying, like what's happening? Like, and he's like, Leah, like if you look through your texts that you've texted me, you mainly text me when you're having your down period. A few months before that, you're like fucking a couple, you're like killing it at work, you're doing whatever, you're partying every night, we're drinking Red Bull, not because I wasn't drinking, but he's like, you have bipolar 2 disorder. I was like, oh my God, that fucking makes sense. Like this, like emotional instability, like mood swings, like, oh my God. And it felt really liberating. But I unfortunately just got so caught up in trying to medicate myself, which if you find medication that helps it, that's great. I never did. I never did well on mood stabilizers. I never did well on antipsychotics. I never did well on fucking anti-anxiety medication. Like that was all the shit that they were putting me on, like I did much better off of it and like exercising and staying out of toxic relationships and just trying to like make better decisions for myself, and like trying to keep my life as healthy as possible. That is the main thing. But like, I think whatever happened to me in January of 2022, that was a depression thing. There was a lot of anxiety wrapped up in it too and fear, but it was almost like, a body, like it was like a dark night of the soul type thing. Like it was really like
I was a physical.
It manifested completely physically to the point where my mother was like praying over me at night because I'd be like getting panic attacks. Nothing could stop it. Like the doctor was like putting me on like sedatives, like trazodone, this, that. I'd be like, like I couldn't. I was like, oh, like I was literally like something.
This was at home.
It was at home until I finally was like, this can't. Rob moved in with me.
And this was over a period of time? Like, it wasn't like one night. It was like...
It happened. I felt the chemistry in my brain go... And I was in the Dominican Republic with my daughter.
Whoa.
And then she got COVID the next day. And we were quarantined there away from each other. And it was like... I don't know. I was confronted with every single thing that's ever affected me in any way, like negatively or any kind of anything, like it was all like, and I never mourned my grandmother's death. So like, it just like came over me and like hit me. And it was just like, I can't explain it. I felt so, it was this physical crazy thing, but it took me months and months and months to recover from.
Really?
Like the suicidal ideation for months. I couldn't see a knife without thinking about sticking it in myself.
Wow.
I could not see an open window without thinking about jumping out of it.
And how did you work through that? With therapy and with
therapy?
Yeah.
Therapy, exercise, prayer, AA, friends. You know, not like I could really tell many friends, but some friends. You know, because I wasn't really like socializing much. You know, but
yeah.
Taking walks, like reading, journaling, like, you know, hypnotherapy, like, you know, like literally, and I'm lucky I had the resources to be able to do that shit, right? Because what the fuck do you do if you don't have the resources? Yeah. Like I had money to pay for all of that. Like I went to Silver Hill Hospital for like a week, you know, I went to Dr. Amen to get my brain scanned. Like I tried a bunch of different medication, you know, it's until I was like, never mind, nothing's working.
Yeah.
It just takes a long time to recover from a full-on breakdown. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where you're like literally can't move for a month or two. It's fucked up. And I had to go on book tour. When you saw me in fucking LA,
was that in the midst of it?
Yes.
It was?
That was a couple months after. My mom had to come to LA with me because I was like too scared to go anywhere by myself.
Why didn't you share this with me?
I don't know, because I was like, I didn't want to even think about it. And I started using a stuffed animal to sleep with.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy. It was one day I felt like, soon, you know, when I got out of Silver Hill and I was still recovering, one night I was just, all these emotions were coming up. I was like, I was being reverted back to a child. Like I was like, I felt like I was like a 6-year-old, and I was like, I need a teddy bear. And my psychiatrist is like, buy yourself one, because like you have to parent yourself now, you know. And it's not because my parents were not there, and you know, it becomes a whole thing when I tell my mom that I have like inner child shit I need to do. She's like, well, I was a great parent, so I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Dad was kind of depressed for a lot of those years, but you know, whatever it is. She's like, well, this person dealt with a lot more. You were fed, you weren't beat, you know. I'm like,
Leah, were your parents Korean by chance?
You know, they're Irish. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
And even though it's that generation, like, and even though my mom's a psychiatrist, it's like, we're doing things so much differently with our kids. It's like my daughter, and you know, my daughter's 16, and my daughter obviously saw me go through this, and like my daughter, you know, I relapsed. I haven't ever said that, but I relapsed like last year, not with alcohol, with something else, and that was a part of the break, you know, the breakdown, because I had a breakdown, and I was like, how do I relieve myself from this stress, this horrible feeling, you know? And I really, whatever, it made me recommit to sobriety in a way that I haven't in years, and I think that's a huge part of this also. But I also think addiction and alcoholism and all that is also wrapped up into the bipolar. It's a personality. That's a mental illness too. But I also try to look at it as brain health also. Yeah. Like it is brain health. I don't want to be like, I'm mentally ill, but I am mentally ill. Yeah. And I react to things differently than other people in a way that does make my life a little more complicated. I feel things so strongly, whether they're good or bad, and it's fucking annoying. But I don't want to be on a mood stabilizer because none of them fucking work for me. Yeah. And I told this, like being and this new psychiatrist I'm actually seeing a psych nurse because it's like a lot less expensive and they're just as good, and I just, whatever. Anyway. Yeah. He was like, you know, you're in a new relationship. You're in the beginning of a new relationship. The beginning of new relationships for people with bipolar 2 and the end of relationships are so hard for people with bipolar 2. It's the unknown. It's change. It's like that shit fucks me up. And I also find that I have a hard time traveling and being in new situations now than I used to not. I used to not care.
Than you used to be.
Yeah.
What is that part?
I think it's from this fucking January breakdown.
There's just anxiety wrapped up around that?
Yeah, I think because it happened like on a trip. you know?
Oh, right. So your association with being away
Traveling
from
and
home
being-
is like, oh, I'm a little bit out here right now.
I'm a little
vulnerable.
bit, right.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I was like, would be in China or Paris
Yeah.
or Berlin or whatever. And
Yeah.
like not even thinking twice about it, you know? But it's like the jet lag affects me. The lack of sleep affects me.
Yeah.
It all like, I'm just
It compounds.
fucking sensitive now. I'm like
Yeah.
a sensitive little bitch ass.
Yeah, yeah. No, same. And I don't know if I just chalked it up to me getting older, but it's probably everything aggregating or,
Nervous system.
compounding on top of each other. Yeah.
That nervous system
Yeah.
shit. So like, what is your like bipolar stuff? Like, how do you deal with it?
Well, I think I'm really fortunate that I have so many layers of friendships and family around me that are kind of watching out for it now. But I need to make sure I'm really trying to not drink anymore. And I drank last night, but I now
Wait, where'd
noticed
you guys go after?
it was Sunday night, so
it
the
was
only
Sunday.
place nearby, there was like a place called Art Bar, which was like a super fun bar. It was just like walking
Okay.
distance from the Soho
All right.
House.
Sorry. Anyway, go on. I'm just wondering. Drinking is so bad for your fucking nervous system.
Totally.
And shit. It's
yes.
horrible.
Even one drink.
It's a depressant.
Yes. Even one drink sets me off the next day. I notice it's not just that I'm slower or that I'm like I have a headache or anything. It's just all around my mood is like one notch below, even with one drink. And then if I drink even more than that, then I'm like down.
Yeah.
And so I'm much more aware and sensitive of that. And I'm like, I don't really need a drink like this anymore. Trying to just have consistent like exercise. I surf, but my surfing has changed because there's a lot more fear and anxiety, which has kind of come up over the last year. I've never had before. I got held down. I was out in Bali surfing last year and I got held down on like 3 waves. And
That's scary.
That shit was like, they were like overhead waves and I wasn't familiar with the territory. That kind of was a little traumatizing. I don't know if it's because of that, but now when I go out, like my heart races a bit differently. I'm a public speaker. I get flown around to do that. And my anxiety around that has only multiplied. And so that's something that I'm really aware of. And like, there are moments on stage where I'm talking where I feel like I might pass out.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
I know that feeling.
you know? And I ask a lot of my friends who do public speaking.
I passed out on national television, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I've asked my public speaking friends, I'm like, do you guys ever have this where 5 to 10 minutes into you talking, you feel like you're about to faint? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, this is a weird thing that's happening with me.
You're also psyching yourself out. You're like thinking about it. You're like, I could pass out right now. I could have an anxiety attack.
I'm like talking, I'm like, what if I just pass out or like flip out or like lose my shit?
You're like you're not like ground, like you're not in your body. It's like you're separated. No,
Yes.
I know how that
What
feels.
is that shit?
It's anxiety.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But you can
Yeah.
take propanolol or whatever that medication that lowers your heart rate, and they give it to people doing public speaking. Did your psychiatrist never told you about that?
No, I need this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do anything to your mood.
Yeah.
It's not like taking a fucking Xanax where you're
Yeah.
like, it just lowers your heart rate, which can help because it's so
I
physical.
need that.
Anxiety
Yes.
can become so physical.
It's like my heart's like,
Your heart races. Like
Yeah.
my arm. So I go hot. Like I go hot. My arms go numb. My legs go numb.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Or like, for me, it's like my hands go numb.
Interesting.
Like I start losing sensation there.
What the hell's wrong with us?
I don't know, but I love it actually. I love that you and I have this.
I know,
because I feel closer. I feel
sense.
closer to you.
Yeah, I know. I feel
And
closer to you too.
Everyone knows this, but I'm like Leah fan, and so I'm like, oh my God,
I'm a Bobby fan.
I think we're like the same.
We're the same.
Maybe that's why I was always a fan, was because I was just like, there's something about this that seems really familiar.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And when you write, the way that you write, I'm like, I write like this.
I need to write more.
Because you're such a good writer.
Thank
I'm not
you.
saying I'm a good writer. I am a good writer.
You're a great writer.
But when you write, I'm like, oh shit, Leah's a really good writer and you're really fucking smart. And I know you know this.
Thank you.
But I don't know.
I
It
feel
takes a lot to write. It takes a lot.
I'm trying
laborious.
to right now, and
Yeah.
it's like, and it's hard when you're in a mode where you can't and you're
Yeah.
not feeling it to make yourself do it. Because I want to be like into it, but you can't be into it all the time. But you still have to do it,
You
right?
still have to do it. If you're a writer,
You still have to do it.
You have to force yourself,
You have to force
even
yourself.
for like right when you wake up in the morning, when you have energy, even if you're literally typing gibberish,
Still have to do
until
it.
you get into a mode.
I'm writing a new book.
Are you?
Yeah, I'll tell you about it when we're not. But yeah, I'm writing a new book. Yeah.
You can't say anything about it?
It's fiction.
Oh, great. I'm writing fiction too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's what I was doing in the pandemic. And then I got into NFTs and my fiction book was awful. It's awful right now. It's done, but it's terrible.
Oh, wow.
And my editor's like, this requires work, but you're writing all these NFT essays. Why don't we compile these into a book? That's what NFTs are, a scam are. It's just a collection of essays. Oh. So it was just like it was kind of like a sophomore album to get me to like the next step.
Right.
But the next book is fiction. But I'm glad you're doing fiction.
How do I become a public speaker and charge tons of money like you?
You have a book, you can do it now.
Well, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. I need to talk to my agent.
You need to talk to your agent about this, but you should be making decent money. My friend Noor, you know Noor Tagore, right?
I met her at one of your
so Noor is one of the first people who told me like 5 years ago, because she's a public speaker. She makes a very great living doing that. And she's like, are you speaking at these things for free? I'm like, yeah. She's like, no, you should ask for money. And I'm like $500. She's like, no. She's just
$500.
Yeah, she's like, you'd be surprised how much. Like she asks for a lot and makes a lot. She's like, there just aren't a lot of good public speakers out there because people don't think of it as an industry.
Right.
So she's like, when she's
I don't really know what I would say though, but
there's so much you could talk about.
Well, I'll have to have you help me. What if I say like, hey, I had a nervous breakdown. I'm doing well now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, you have a lot of experience.
When you were just talking about the fear stuff, though, with the surfing.
Yeah.
After the breakdown, I'll just keep calling it whatever. I'll call it the breakthrough. I had anxiety about everything. Starting this podcast.
Yeah.
Going on the book tour. I felt like I was a fraud. I felt like I can't do this. I'm so scared. Joe, how fucking nervous was I on the first?
Yeah.
I was like,
the first few podcasts where you could see the transition to now. It's
questioning everything. Different. And I'm normally a confident person and like, I don't give a fuck. And I'm like, I don't have any fear. I'm like, whatever. If I fail, I fail. But I was so scared. I'm scared to fail now in a way that I never was. Not because I think what happened just shook me. But I'm getting back to myself where it's like, okay.
It's gotten way better. It's gotten way better.
No, but I just mean I'm getting back to myself more in general, you know, and I'm doing a live show.
Oh.
I'm doing a live show June 20th.
Yeah.
In New York, and I'm doing one in LA July 12th.
Yo,
so if you're around,
we're out there. Let's all go.
Yes, please.
We're all going.
Everyone come.
Yeah, I already bought my plane tickets.
When this touring company contacted me, I was like, oh, no one wants to come. Like, I can't do this. Like, no one.
You actually said that to me the first sentence. You were like, I better sell this out. And I was like, you're going to be fine. Look, the first day you announced it. What happened?
Yeah, we're pretty much almost sold out. Now I have to check in with them. But yeah, like within 7 hours, like at least half the show is sold out. So that was great. Amazing. But I'm still nervous about doing it. Like, which is fine. But I definitely am like, okay, at least people, because when they came to me, I was like, I don't know. Like, what if no one shows up? What if no one buys the tickets and I have to just say, sorry, guys, I can't be there. And then everyone knows that no one could buy tickets. Like, I'm thinking about that stuff and I never did before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life is interesting.
I don't know if that's because we've experienced so much. Like, we have so much knowledge and information now. We've been through everything. We've had multiple careers. We've had multiple careers. It's like we started our brands when we were fucking babies. We know too much. It's like... You know, when 20-year-olds come up to me and they're like, I want to start a streetwear brand, and then in the back of my head, I'm like, don't do it, because we see all the problems and, you know, but they only see the upside.
I know.
For them, there's only up, right? But for me, I'm like, I have a livelihood to defend. I have like children whose my reputation's online, like all this stuff that I've built that I could lose. But for them, they're like, I got nothing, so they can only see up. We've seen so much. We've lived multiple lives, had so many different careers.
And also now we have shit to lose. Someone DM'd me because I put up a video being like, I have imposter syndrome still. I don't know why. I feel like a fraud a lot. It's crazy. Why do I have all this fear about doing shit? And like someone wrote me being like, I have the same thing as I get older. Because I have more to lose.
Yeah.
When you're young and dumb.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just going to start this brand. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen with it.
And then you can just discard it if it doesn't work and start over, because now you're only 22. And so then you can like, dude, you live a whole life and you're like, well, now I'm 24. Let's reinvent myself again.
Wait, how old are you?
I'm 43 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 41 in August. You know, it's like, we're kind of like we're like midlife.
Total midlife crisis.
Yeah, we're like midlife crisis.
That's
like,
what I was saying.
We're dressed like teenagers, Bobby.
I mean, I'll forever be dressed like I was when I was 16 years old.
Sometimes I say to my daughter, maybe I should stop maybe I should stop dressing like you. Like maybe I need to dress more adult. And she's like, why? It looks good on you. I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep dressing like I'm a teenager. I don't care.
I think it sucked having a midlife crisis while the world was having a midlife crisis. Like to turn 40 in the pandemic was like the absolute worst. It was like getting kicked while you were down.
Yeah, I did that.
And it sucked. But I also think that, look, for men, they say our midlife crisis it goes from 39 to 43. I actually do feel like I turned 43 in March. I do feel like I'm leaving that part of it behind where it's not that I resolved anything about my crisis, but I learned to live with it.
Interesting.
During my midlife crisis, I was very much like, I have to figure out what's wrong with me. I got to get through it. And
that's
I have
how
to
I
change
feel
this.
right now.
Right? Yeah. So you're in it and you're like, I don't like this. And like, I shouldn't be like this. And how do I solve this problem?
Yes.
And then by the end of me turning 43, I looked around and I'm like, I actually learned to like deal with what it's almost like I was getting gray hairs. Like I would, getting more gray hairs. And I'm like, how do I fix this? How do I like, dye my hair or do whatever.
Yeah.
And then
I got plastic surgery.
And then you get to a point where you're 43 and you're like, actually, this is just like my identity now. Like I have gray hair or like I have wrinkles, like I look older.
Yeah.
And so you don't like fix it ever. You just sort of like, oh, it just was me breaking into this new norm.
Well, I'm going to fix the wrinkles and stuff, but
you look phenomenal.
So do you.
Yeah.
We look we look good.
You are Korean. So
I am.
Yeah.
We figured that out. Wait, speaking of Korean, can I just bring up beef? Because I'm obsessed with that
It's a great show.
It's fucking amazing. I was hoping that, because I know you're kind of like a Korean elite.
Yeah,
and
which is not saying much. It's big fish in a small pond.
But you know a lot of the extremely popular and famous Asian people.
Yes.
You do. And I was hoping some of them would be at the dinner last night.
Well, they're everywhere.
Were in LA, probably.
They're actually everywhere right now because everyone's touring and getting work, which is phenomenal. Like, especially
that show is fucking good.
Yeah, the show is good. The show is good for a number of reasons. Sonny is like a genius, the guy who created it.
Who also did Dave.
Yeah, he works. He writes on Dave and
he's like only 38. That again, I had to of course go look up the age and going, he's doing all of this, and what am I doing? He's creating this amazing show. Isn't that sick in the head? What's wrong with me?
Stop doing that. You gotta stop doing that.
I'm fucked up, man. I'm like, oh, he's 38. That's great. I'm turning 41. I didn't do that. No, it's horrible.
I want you to go home tonight and I want you just to Google Ray Kroc. That's it, and just read. You'll be fine. Exactly.
Okay.
Because Ray Kroc started when he was old.
56.
No, I know.
56,
People.
It's like Cormac McCarthy wrote The Road when he's like 60 or something.
I just feel like Mob is at the end. I'm at a very transitional period. Like I'm done with the Bravo. Mm-hmm. Mob is over pretty much. It has been for a while, but I'm like kind of like ready to really move on from it. And it's like I don't know what's next. So I'm like, it's a great situation, but it's like scary.
But as an observer, you are moving on from it.
I know I am.
What you're doing, she doesn't give herself enough credit. I feel like you're like cheerleader section a lot because I'm watching it from the outside and I'm like, what? I know.
I don't, but it's not about people because it's only myself that I'm doing this to. It's not like other people where I'm like, you're not doing enough. You didn't accomplish enough. It's not about, it's not even like that. It's just me. But anyway, back to beef. Back to Korean elite.
Great show, by the way.
I love
that show.
Well, it's an amazing story, but I also like learning about Korean culture.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say. What is really brilliant about the show is that he captures Korean American nuance in a way that no one has before. For example, Young Manzino, who is he plays Steve's brother on the show.
The younger
He's kind
brother.
of like the deadbeat roommate.
He's the younger brother who's like buff and he's fucking Amy.
But he's But it's the first example or illustration I've seen on screen of Asian American mediocrity. The guy just exists.
Holy cow.
But this has never happened.
So true.
It's never happened. They're exceptional characters or like these like total like nominal background characters, but there's never just been like this. He's just there. But
that is so crazy you said that.
Yeah,
there's no like explanation or reasoning or justification of like why
he went to jail
just there.
and he had this like
but all the Korean American fools I know, they're that dude. You go to K-Town, you go to your friend's apartment, there's a guy just sitting in the corner gaming, and I'm like, that's what it means to be Korean American. They don't have to explain themselves or justify why they are there. They're just there. And so that was like, that character to me really shone. I was like, I'm drawn to this because that to me is real representation when we don't have to explain why we're on screen anymore. You know, before it was just like there had to be this real story for like the Asian American experience, or you have to know what it's like like to be an immigrant in this world or whatever. It's just like, yo, this fool's he's just there. He's just like playing games. He's like collecting crypto.
It's so weird you say that. When I watched that, I felt like it was kind of like a lie. 'Cause I never got, my wife is Chinese and she's like, no. In our house, like it was like be a doctor or a lawyer. It was the truth. And I was like, but I never saw an Asian dude or character just like doing his thing.
Doing his thing.
Never.
And that's really, really an advancement for us.
Even the kid in the Goonies was an inventor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Oh my God,
exactly.
that's right.
He could just be a guy.
He was inventing stuff.
Like Chunk and like all the other kids are just kids. And then they're like, well, this kid's the inventor.
Yeah, he's like,
we have to explain why he's
crossbows. And you're like, I feel stupid. The fat kid's doing the truffle shuffle. And you're like, this kid's making a...
Exactly.
Right. Wow.
So for us, that's like real representation when we can be on screen and in the media in a way where it's just, we can exist. So actually on Thursday, I don't know when this is airing, but on Thursday, it's actually Asian Pacific American Heritage Month.
Okay.
And so we're celebrating Asian American culture. And on Thursday, we're throwing this huge event in Los Angeles with like 300 leaders from like skateboarding and entertainment and music and the arts and tech and entrepreneurship, and we're just like giving them all dinner and like having a dance party.
Oh my God, that's so much fun.
It's called As I Am because I do feel like we're reaching this point in culture where we can just be, and like as Asians, I'm like, this is all we've ever wanted. It wasn't like, oh, award us and give us the Oscars. It wasn't like we want the highest paying job. It was like, sure, we want all that stuff, but it's also like, can we just be and like no one look at us for, oh, he's like the Asian American tokenized, like that's the symbol of like, that world. Yeah. I just want to like be in the room and not make it such a thing. I think that's like that's what this show is really incredible for.
That's cool.
But fun writing. It's crazy watching Cho on camera, Dave Cho. Like Steve Yeun is our, Tom Cruise. He's going to hopefully win an Oscar one day.
He's amazing.
Ali Wong is Netflix's darling.
Freaking hilarious.
Like she crushes it.
She crushes it because I only know her as a comedian. Yeah. So seeing her act is awesome.
I don't know the stats on it, but anything that if Netflix puts her on anything, the show just is like becomes number one. Wow. America loves her. And then my other friend Joe is on the show. He plays Ali's husband. He's the tall, handsome husband dude. Joe is a great actor. He's a phenomenal artist. He
plays an artist, but he plays an artist. He plays like a shitty artist kind of.
But he's like, I know Joe more as an artist, and then seeing him on the show, I was just like, oh, I forget you're an actor too. So he's very multifaceted.
And is he Japanese?
He's Korean American.
But even though he plays a Japanese guy
on the show, yeah. So it's great.
Hope the Japanese don't get mad at that. Just saying. Just saying. People get angry about that stuff now.
They can. My kids are half Korean, half Japanese, so they identify both. But yeah, watch Beef.
Watch Beef. It's so good. How long have we been going on and on?
You guys are rocking. You guys are good. You can wrap whenever you want. You're at an hour and 22 already.
Oh my God.
What time is it?
It's 12:44.
Time flies when you're having fun.
My head is pounding right now. Probably from crying. I didn't need this. This is my second.
I asked you on water.
This is my second coffee. I didn't need that.
Are you doing the jitters?
It's just like my head like gets like every time I cry, my head hurts. When do you leave?
In like an hour. We're gonna go to Alidoro, grab a sandwich.
Nice.
Head to the airport.
How's Ben?
Ben's good. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. Ben's the best. Ben's my business partner.
Yeah. Ben hundreds.
He's a huge, big collector in the art world now. He's become like a food personality. He had a food show last year.
That's right. What kind of art is he collecting?
A lot of fine art. We collect together, but he's really more the one that's leading.
You guys have so much money. I don't believe that you don't. It's like crazy. He's surfing in Bali and they're collecting fine art.
In my brain, I'm thinking that movie Crazy Rich Asians. I'm like, this is awesome.
I know.
This is awesome.
We're really not all crazy.
Well, I'm not comping you guys tickets to the LA show. You have to buy them.
100%.
I bought your NFTs.
When is the show in LA?
July 12th. Yes.
So what are you doing? You're doing a live show and you're interviewing?
Annie Lederman is going to be there. And then one other person who I haven't announced yet because I'm trying to confirm it, but maybe tons of famous people. Can you get some of them to come on the podcast?
Tell me who you want, and then I can put out asks if I know them.
How do you?
Who do you want to talk to?
You're like besties with Reese Witherspoon and stuff. Not that she's going to come on here, but how are you even best? You're so close with all these people now. Oh, who I would love to talk to is Holly Madison.
Oh yeah, why don't we get Holly? I can ask her. Holly has a great podcast too.
Oh yeah, I want her to come on my pod, and it also makes sense. Like we're both on reality TV. Yeah.
She's super smart too. I feel like you guys would
cool.
you would have a really good rapport.
Yeah.
I can ask her.
I'll think about it and you'll think about it. Whatever. We'll just figure it out. Ben is amazing. I love him. You guys, you're going to come to the show. July 12th.
We're coming to the show.
Yeah. And you're buying tickets.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we're all flying economy.
We're all flying economy.
100%, baby.
Actually, I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to fly economy. All right, let's wrap it up. This was great.
Yeah.
What's
really
next
good.
for you?
Just this book. We're coming up on the first week of this book being out, so I'll be promoting it a little bit more. I'm writing this fiction book. I want to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot of writing.
Hold on. Are you writing it in first person, third person?
Third person.
I'm writing it in third person also, and it's fucking weird.
It's really weird.
It's so weird.
Because we're memoirists and we write. We're like bloggers.
I kind of am like, can I just write it in mine and then you guys change it around, and do that part?
It's a lot. It's different. It's not like a central protagonist. It's like a group of kids,
and you're able to,
everyone's doing stuff. It's
and
a
also
different way to write.
I know it's hard because I'm still trying to write in my tone.
Yeah, exactly.
But in third person,
you want to like have your opinion in there.
I want to exactly. Yeah. I want to be like snarky and like dark humor, funny, but also like third person, and it's just it's interesting.
Do you have writer friends? So what I try to do is I try to surround or like hang out with a lot of writer and author friends. And they're really generous with advice, but I'll just bounce things back. Like this type of writing, it's good to throw it around and be like, what do you think about this? What should I do?
Okay, I need to do that. I need to get more author friends. I need to get more writer friends.
Like, streetwear, it's not fun when it's just you doing it. But
that's right. Yeah, you run shit by people.
And you get to complain, which is really the best part. Like when I hang out with writer friends, I'm like, can we go to coffee, have some questions? And it's just 2 hours of us complaining about writing. We're like, we fucking hate this. Why do we do this to ourselves? This punishment.
Do you write every day?
I try to write every day, but it's punishment.
How many words?
I try to write for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, that's
so
why
you never know how many words are going to come out though, right?
Yeah. I force that's why I have a Substack, because it forces me to write because people are paying.
That's a lot of writing.
It's a lot. I try to send out 1 or 2 Substacks a week, and they can be between like 3,000 to 5,000 words, which is a lot, but people are paying. And so like it forces me to write, but it keeps me going. Like if you want to be a writer, you do have to write every day. Even if it's
I need to start writing every day.
And most of it is turning this thing off. Like I know,
and putting it in another room.
I have like a lockbox in another room, and then I just do, and I'm like, no, turn off the Wi-Fi in your computer.
I'm going to pee in my pants, guys. I need to pee.
Me too. I just realized as soon as you said that. Look at all the pee. Your pee belly.
I have to
pee, baby.
Pee pregnancy.
Do a sign off.
Wait, let's sign off.
Yeah.
I'm old. Like
out of nowhere.
I also have a UTI that I'm recovering from all the sex.
Oh, good for you. Is that good for you or bad for you? I don't know.
I mean, it's not good for my bladder when his dick is hitting my bladder. Being like, I'm knocking that shit around and I'm on 2 different kinds of antibiotics trying to get rid of it.
Wow. Let's pee.
Yeah.
I'm going to pee in a minute. Tell
Nothing.
me.
Oh, that's it. Really. Subscribe to my Substack. It's bobby100.substack.com. Please buy the book if you feel inclined, if you're curious. And it's not just about NFTs. It's about life and who we are, why we see community. It's about immortality. It's about being slow to judgment with everything in culture. It's about being wrong. So if you like my first book, a lot of people did. It really is a continuation. People are like, is there any discussion of streetwear? I'm like, I think most of the book is about streetwear. There's a lot of like streetwear people that I interview in the book, like people that we know. I talk about Virgil. I talk about all this stuff. Support the hundreds. It's still very much alive and well. This is our 20th year. So we have a lot more collaborations that are coming. And
oh, wow, you're still doing it.
Still doing it.
Buy Mob, because I'm probably shutting it down. So go on that website and shop.
Get your live show tickets. Get your live show tickets.
Of course, yes. Get the live show tickets. LeahMcSweeneyLive.com. Thank you for tuning in.